Welcome to STEAMSparks, Think STEAM Career Podcast. My name is Dr. Ayo Olufade, and we're honored and blessed. We're going to be talking to Dr. Bass-Flimmons. Dr. Bass-Flimmons is the founder of SheSTEAM, an organization dedicated to empowering Black youth and underrepresented women in the rural region of Africa through technology implementation and integration. Dr. Bass-Flimmons' work has been pivotal in bringing STEAM education to those who might otherwise have limited access to such resources. Today, we will be exploring the journey of SheSTEAM, understanding its mission, and discussing the innovative strategy Dr. Bass-Flimmons and her team are employing to bring about significant change in rural Africa. We will explore the challenges, the success, the future aspiration of this inspiring initiative. This conversation is not just for educators and policymakers. It is for parents, students, and anyone who believes in the transformative power of education, especially in the field of science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. So without further ado, I should say, let's welcome Dr. Bass-Flimmons. Dr. Bass-Flimmons, welcome to STEAMSparks, Think STEAM Career Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So, Dr. Flimmons, I wanted to ask you, could you tell us about the SheSTEAM mission, the primary goal you aim to achieve through your initiative?
Yes, absolutely. SheSTEAM is a one-day immersive experience for girls ages 11 going all the way up to 22. And we hope to achieve with these girls exposure to Black women in STEAM fields. Also, we would like for them to be exposed to different careers through activities, hands-on activities. That's what they will be introduced to. And our last but not least, we want them to see Black excellence that they represented in their own country.
Yes.
This event is in South Africa, and we are proud to say that all of our facilitators, all of our speakers, everyone is South African local. And we have about 25 facilitators, and only one is a male. Everyone else is a female. So we are very proud to say that they should feel inspired, that they can go and decide to go into a STEAM field or take up the STEAM track. But we just want to expose them and feel proud to be a Black girl.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you mentioned focusing Black girls in the rural. And also you mentioned, there's only one male, mostly. So is there a reason why you wanted to limit the numbers of male? Because as you know, in a world whereby diversity seems to be so vital. So only one male?
Well, I mean, I will say in terms of the way that we thought about this event originally, we wanted to start with 50 girls and 3 facilitators, 3 to 4 facilitators. But the event grew. It really did. It grew fast. Okay. And we were targeting all Black women to be facilitators, to be honest. That was our target. But we had one organization, there was an individual who created a game. It's a coding game that uses tangible coding. So they use just a cell phone, and the game is a paper-based game to teach kids coding. And that development was developed by a male, and he wanted to support our initiative and, provide resources. So we decided to allow him to join in because he was very supportive and believed in our mission and also wanted to continue the partnership. So that really is the only one we let through, but for good reasons.
I do understand. I think I understand the impact of women power. You wanted to impress upon the young girls that women too can do phenomenal things without the male's input, not that the male's input is not really vital. It is vital, but I get it. The girls are from or are in the rural area. So what are some of the unique challenges this community face in accessing STEAM education? And how does SheSTEAM plan to address these challenges?
Yes, so some of the challenges, my background is in business and technology. And so I always use myself and think about my journey. Not even just my journey in STEAM, but my journey in terms of my professional journey. But I was in a predominantly male-driven field in tech. I would go to conferences. I'm an academic, but I would go to conferences and go to events, and I
Yes.
would be pretty much the one of few females and definitely one of few who was Black. So,
Yes.
and even in my international work, believe it or not, in
Mm.
my international work, there were very, very few African American females doing work on the continent of Africa. I would get questions all the time about,
Seriously? Oh,
yes,
wow.
in these, no, you don't see many of us doing the work. I will say it's since COVID, of course,
Yes.
it grew, right?
Okay.
This is pre-COVID, so let
Okay.
me rephrase. I started traveling in 2011. That was my
Mm.
first trip. And then my work in Ghana was between 2012 going up to 2016. So this is pre-COVID. So
Yes.
pre-COVID, I will say there were very few of us going over and doing the work. And then, of course, during COVID, people felt, especially to the West, to go over to move their families, especially now, you will see a lot of people from African Americans going back to West Africa doing work. So there is definitely, I think COVID opened up just the possibilities, and just honestly, the prevalence of COVID-19 really wasn't on the continent. We don't talk
Mm.
about that a lot, but
Right. Right.
we don't talk about that, but that was actually happening. And,
Mm.
you have to give your props to the continent because, they were doing something right with all those
Right.
people. But needless to say, for my journey, didn't see many, just doing the work that I do. And so I wanted to, number one, make sure that they would see people who look like them doing this work. And
Yeah.
then also, even when you're talking about choosing a STEAM career,
Yes.
right? Most of the time, most girls, they're pushed to go towards either being a teacher, maybe
Mm.
a lawyer, doctor, nurse. But when you're talking about scientists,
Yes. Mm.
engineering,
Mm.
computer science, those you'll see some on the science side. But when you're talking about computer engineering and science, engineering or computer science, it's kind of like far and few between. So I wanted to make sure that we had representation across the board for these girls. And being from a rural setting, a lot of times you have to love COVID because
Mm.
what happened, people normally in the rural, their oftentimes to success is them moving and going to the city, right?
Mm.
So they're in the rural and they want to get out and get to the biggest city or the capital city in that country, right?
Mm. Yes.
That's kind of where their mindset was. Well, COVID taught us that you don't necessarily have to be in the
Mm.
city to be successful or to
Yeah.
have a platform
Mm.
or, all of these things. So COVID really, and AI, those two things I think together just really
Yeah.
sped up the track, just the opportunities for young people. So we want to let them know that number one, there are people from your community
Yes.
who look like you, who made it, who went outside and they come back and they give back to your community, number one. And number two, you don't necessarily have to go out.
Yeah.
One of our facilitators is a consultant for TikTok, and she's in the rural,
Wow.
just amazing. So I
Wow.
think, and she's virtual with the work that she does.
Mm.
So I think just understanding that, you don't necessarily have to move away. What
Yeah.
can I do with my community if I want to learn some technology skills? What are some things that I can do? And I think that's just important for them to see that they don't necessarily have to leave the room and they
Mm.
can still, make money.
Yeah, wonderful. Excellent, excellent. I will say, honestly, I know COVID has affected almost every one of us
Mhm.
in a dramatic and different ways. But it has also brought a lot of opportunities, to many people and many communities, many countries in the world. And you just highlighted that COVID and AI and the innovation in technology has actually facilitated not only collaboration, but communities innovating. And that leads me to you choose Africa. Many of us, especially African Americans, or many of us here who are Africans in the diaspora, we're afraid. We shy away from going to Africa to contribute because of various reasons. So I want to talk about inspiration behind choosing Africa, and that's commendable. You're a hero. What inspired you to? You have traveled, and also look, with your background, you've traveled extensively, right? What inspired you to focus specifically on Africa, and how does your work there compare to your initiative in other part of the world?
That's a great question. I'll take the first one. You might have to repeat the second one because I'll get the
Okay.
first one. Um, but I had the opportunity to travel in 2011 to South Africa and specifically KZN. If you know anything about KZN, it's Shaka land and Zulu tribe, so King Shaka. So
Mm,
specifically looking at the history of wars and indigenous people who are there and the resilience of those people. And I just, number one, that was never taught to me, in K through 12 education in the United States.
mm,
So I was thankful to this professor who wanted us to specifically look at the history of wars in South Africa and this specific group of people, this tribe, right? So it was just amazing to hear the story, what he stood up against, um, just the history of the culture. And one of the things that stood out to me, because KZN is in the rule, they still in some places go and fetch water. So it's
mm.
still, when people think about South Africa, they think, very much developed, and some parts are, but there also are some parts where they are still going to fetch water. So
Wow.
when I went there and I saw, the culture and the people, not one time did someone ask me, oh, I want to come back to the States. I want to
Mm,
come visit you in this. Nobody, not one person, right? So it struck me because they were comfortable in their culture and they were
mm.
very proud of who they were. And they honestly were, they were okay, And
Oh,
you think from the States, most African Americans, oh, I want to go to Africa to help. Well, these people really didn't really need your help, right?
yeah, yeah,
So that really struck me. And so, I looked at it from a different way and just really tried to understand why did they love their culture so much? And you know, why did they,
yeah,
So I think for me, because we don't experience that on this side, African Americans, we typically don't. We think we have culture, but you haven't seen culture until, you go to a place like that.
yeah.
Um, it just really touched me in a way to really have me think, okay, why, all the things that we do, why are we doing that? And, who is it really impacting, right? And these people felt good about who they were, like they didn't have to change for anybody. They still dressed in their traditional clothes, you know, just happy. So you think about just the decisions that you make in terms of what you wear, how you talk,
Mm,
these simple decisions. And a lot of times you're doing it to possibly impress somebody or to get into a certain door or to be
yeah,
accepted, right?
yes,
But culture, they put that first. And that is the most important thing above anything else, right?
right,
So
right.
that struck me. And we were there for 3 weeks.
Wow.
And so after that, we then went to Durban and then Johannesburg. And when I left, I started thinking, wow, these people really have a gold mine. They don't, just like what? Wow. Because in Durban and Joburg, especially Johannesburg, the kids, they want to go to America. It's Americanized. Then I started thinking, wait a minute.
And these are kids in the city.
Kids in the city, yes, kids
Okay.
in the city. So Johannesburg, yep, in the city. They want to follow mainstream media, and they also want to, be in America Gold, which is great and fine. However, I was trying to think, how can I connect culture with mainstream? Like,
Yeah.
how can those two, and this is in 2011, how can
Mm.
those two work together?
Mm.
Because just as much as you want to be a part of this popular culture, your culture probably is better. That culture, if
Mm.
not, it's value in it, but
Mm.
you just need to, you know, embrace it and
Yeah.
okay.
Mm.
So that's stood with me for a long time. And when I did my work in Ghana, I had we there was a mobile health maternal project that I was studying,
Okay.
and the information wasn't contextualized. It did
Mm.
not make any. It was like an American project in
Okay.
Ghana, right, with
Mm.
no context of Ghana.
Okay.
And
Mm.
the women came to me and said, this is great, but we don't have access to the fruits that they're asking us to eat.
Mm.
We don't do, so all these little small things, and that was like a light bulb, like, okay, you need to contextualize and make these kids really understand. If you can bring in your culture into the education, like,
Yeah.
I promise you, it would be so much better and make so much more sense. So that
Mm.
was just my thought process. In technology, when I went back, I found that these kids were on, this is because, this is 2016, so we're moving fast, right? People are
Yes.
using
Yes. Yes.
Facebook, so they're like, ma'am, I'm on my phone, I'm on Facebook and social media, but I want to use it for my education. I want to better
Mm.
myself. So I'm,
Wow.
how can I do this? And like you said, COVID was a blessing as well, because that really, the things that people were doing with social media, with podcasts, with blogging, that was a way, that is a way, with apps, with designing different softwares or different, these technology tools to assist with issues that were happening in regular day.
Mm.
That was really like the light bulb for me. So
Okay.
now I'm like, okay, the COVID pushed us just into this space to, where we can understand and appreciate technology, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now I can relate to these kids, and they can see themselves, into these fields. So really that was the inspiration.
Mm.
And quite honestly, we opened up this event to 2 schools, and we had about 18 schools knocking at the door wanting to
Wow.
do it.
Wow.
And we have a waiting list right now of
Oh,
about
oh.
6 more schools. So that's
You have a waiting list.
we have
Wow.
a waiting list. So
Congratulations.
it's
Congratulations. I was going to ask a lot of questions regarding, some success stories and impact and measurements and all that. And also, I was going to ask a question that relates to culture, the cultural sensitivity and inclusion. You covered that because I was going to ask you, how does SheSTEAM ensure cultural sensitivity and
Mhm.
inclusion in implementing SheSTEAM education? It appears to me that you, since 2011, you have really paid attention to the importance of culture. And in education, it is true. When we're educating our children, especially from diverse cultural background, it is really important for us to consider their cultural background. So it appears that you picked that up. So the future vision for SheSTEAM looking forward? So let's talk about the future vision for SheSTEAM. Looking forward, what is your vision for the growth and expansion of SheSTEAM? And are there new region or area of focus you're planning to explore?
We've been approached already. We haven't even kicked this one off.
Okay.
We haven't kicked it off. We've been
Yeah.
approached. So I
So
will say
in Africa, in Asia, Middle East,
in Africa and in the US.
in the US.
In the
Wow.
US.
You know what? You know what, Dr. Fleming, one thing that uh, we don't always pay attention to when it comes to STEAM here in the United States is the rural area in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Do everything that you're doing in the rural area of Africa, I believe is applicable. So you may be a trendsetter, actually.
I'm like, yes, so we will see. We will see. But the future right now, um, I will say we planned for 2024. When we were in the planning, we were approached by different provinces because we are in one province or in the state, one city or one province in South Africa. So we were already approached by other provinces to take SheSTEAM to their province. So we're thinking to have pop-up events, which will be a smaller version of what we're doing.
Okay.
And I will say we are grateful for our facilitators because all of them want to grow with us, right? So they
Yes.
are willing to travel throughout the country and we don't even have to be there. We just need to, support them, but they are willing to do what they're doing in a smaller version of it. So we're going to expand to different schools, rural schools. We already have 2 on our list. I'm
Okay.
sure we will have about 20 when we finish this event.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we plan to go to schools. We've also been approached by villages.
Wow.
Yes, I was shocked, but they want to bring the program to their village, different
Nice.
communities. So we have to meet with different chiefs.
Nice.
They want to bring it there. So, we're like, wow, this is really amazing. Um, we're thinking in terms of the actual event. It is 1 day this year. We
Okay.
want to expand it to 3 days.
Okay.
So we want to include adults. So, adults who are in STEAM, who are seeking internships, fellowships, graduate programs
Yes.
in the continent or
Yes.
in the States or Caribbean. So we
Nice.
plan to expand that way as well. And
Mm.
also bring in industry. So people who are hiring for these positions at
Yes.
corporations or entrepreneurs who want to expand their team, like startups,
Yes.
we
Yes.
plan to go that expansion as well. So we have some big plans.
Excellent.
And also for, like you said, we've been approached from the US standpoint to go into Tennessee. So we're thinking about, we'll see about that. And also Kenya.
Okay.
Kenya
Kenya
is
is pretty
starting
big.
early.
Yeah. Kenya is they're pretty big when it comes to STEAM. Kenya is pretty
Okay.
big. Yeah.
Yes. They are very keen
Yeah.
to meeting probably the week after we
Mm.
end
Oh,
this week.
nice.
So
Well,
yes.
well, you will be very happy. Recently, I saw a post um, that I read. The Kenyan president went and visited one of this team. Um, you know, I guess maybe schools
Mm-hmm.
or academic area. So it was really it was epic just to see the Kenyan president, among students who are in technology, who are in STEAM. Uh, I think that was epic. That is the first time I've ever seen any head of state in Africa.
Mm.
ever really going and taking pictures and interacting with all this future technologists, engineers, mathematicians and all that. But
Mm.
it gives me a lot of hope that the president is interested in STEAM education, STEAM careers, and I think that it would be good to see um, a lot of our presidents, a lot of the head of states in Africa
Mhm.
making concerted efforts. At least it can be very inspirational. So I wanted to ask you, in terms of engaging the global community, how can people outside Africa, especially in our BIPOC community here in the United States, support and get involved in SheSTEAM and its objective? Obviously, you stated you have grand plans. So,
Yes, yes, we do. We do. We actually, the organization that I co-founded with my colleague is called African Research Collaborative. So I know it's a long name, but it's africanresearchcollaborative.com. That's where you can find us.
okay.
In terms of being connected, what we would like to do is have African Research Collaborative members to support the work that we are doing and also joining us in the work. You know, we don't want to be the only ones, trust me, doing this work. And we're thankful for different associations and organizations who want to partner with us, and we're always looking for partners. And like you said, we cannot go everywhere alone. So we are hoping to partner with individuals
That's true.
who will want to continue the work. In terms of the support for She STEAM event, we do have a couple of things that we're still needing, such as chemistry and cosmetics kits.
Good.
Um, we have outstanding bill for accommodations for some of our facilitators that we're working through. So we do have a GoFundMe, and we accept donations from $1 to as high as you want to go. Um, but
And you're a
yes,
nonprofit organization.
we are a nonprofit 501c3 organization. We
Okay.
started our organization in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
I'm based in Atlanta, and the other co-founder is in Washington, D.C. And
Excellent.
she lived on the continent for 3 years. She's African American, but she lived there for 3 years. I got her job. So, well, so it's interesting, it's like, yeah, she did not want to come back to the States. She came back because of COVID and her visa expired, and she was actually illegal on the continent for a little bit, but she did not want to come back.
I totally understand. I noticed that, which actually brings me to the next question, navigating cultural and educational differences. So,
Mm.
in your experience working in different African countries, how do you navigate, especially for people interested, like your co-founder? How do you navigate the different cultural and educational landscape? Uh,
Mm.
to ensure effective. Let's just put it simple. How do you navigate the different cultural backgrounds?
Ooh, a lot of practice. Okay, so my first trip, was South Africa. So I came, like, that's all I knew was South Africa.
Okay.
And then that was 2011, 2014. I go to Ghana. Okay. I'm in Ghana. I'm in Ghana 2014, 15, 16, 17, like all those, like going back and forth for 2, 3 weeks at a time,
Yes.
a month.
Yes.
So I'm immersed in Ghana's culture, and I
Mm.
understand. I think I learned some of the language in the
You
north.
did. Wow.
Um, so I learned a lot about the Ghanaian people and women in the rural and community work, and I mean, just immersed in it. Because the project that I was working on was was my project. So I hired my own team. I went to visit the hospitals. I went to clinics. I went to the community. So it was a lot of self, no landscape, just me pushing.
Yes.
So after that, I had the opportunity to go to, I believe I went to Kenya next. No, Kenya was last. I went to Zambia next, right? So by the time I get to Zambia, I have some experience with the people and the culture, and they're very different. Each country is different, I will tell you. But most of the time for me, I sit back and observe the culture. That's what I've learned and understand, like I really just sit back and observe maybe for 2 or 3 days to the point you might not even hear me speak like publicly in front of a group of people for a while because I'm really observing just the nuances and how things work. Um, and especially, I think Ghana probably taught me that because in the rural, it's a very patriarchal society, and its chief and seed still exist. And it wasn't until my 4th year I could go ask the chief for my request as a female, right? That's don't go into the chief's home. I'm the only one in there, and it's like 25 males in the chief, so I think just really understanding, the culture and the power, and the women knew. It was interesting. They knew I had power because they were asking me for things to tell the chief, right? So, but I came and I bowed and I kneeled, all the cultural things that I had to do.
Wow.
But it took 4 years of that to
Did you
really
say kneel?
kneeling down. You go into the chief's home and you're on your knees.
So, wow. So do you
Yes,
think,
yes.
well, I was just wondering, how difficult do you think that, our sisters here in America or in the West will?
I don't think that they would, but for me,
Yes.
tell you one thing, I knew I needed to do work in that community. And the men told me, you have to get, you want the chief's
Bless.
blessing, yeah.
Yes.
Because if you don't get it, it's going to be
Yes.
difficult for you to work,
That's
to
true.
move like how you move, right? So I'm like, okay, but I did not know what that meant. So I'm trying to follow the lead. You see? So it's and this is in every community, but I tell you one thing, when it was time for me to do community work and community outreach,
Yes.
I it was packed.
Wow.
He amazing. I mean, the blessing goes such a long way to the point where just think about it. If you're trying to have a community outreach program,
Yes.
you need people to show up.
Yes.
I literally had to stop because I ran out of whatever it was that I was doing. In my research, I had paper, surveys. I ran out of paper.
Wow.
I had over 400 participants in my dissertation. That's like unheard of. Most people
Right.
like 400. What? These women waited in line
Wow.
to participate in my study. That's how the blessing goes. So you have
Yeah.
to really understand. Yes, you might not agree with the norms, but when he gives that and announces that, he counsels everything in the community and he pushes and promotes what you're doing. So you can't say that he is not for women. You can't say that.
Yes. Well, so that actually leads me to advice based on your African journey. What advice would you give to educators and advocates looking to embark on similar journey, working in STEAM education in
Mm-hmm.
Africa, based on your own personal and learning in Ghana, in South Africa, in Kenya, and other places that you've been?
Mm-hmm. I would say you have to go and observe first. A lot
Okay.
of people they want to go from the States is, oh, I want to go and teach them this. I
Yes.
want to go and help them do this, right? But you need to understand their needs from their own mouth,
Okay.
right? You need to understand what they need. So a lot of times, yes, it's great what we're doing in education is great on this side,
Yes.
but at the same time, it doesn't apply to them the same way. And some of the same needs are not necessarily there. Just like for mathematics, I tell people the matrix test in South Africa, the graduation test it's the same test, if not harder than our test on this side. And
Wow.
honestly, it's a language barrier. Just
Mm.
imagine the word, equation, just to take
Yeah.
the word equation.
Yeah.
They don't have that in their vocabulary in the
Mm.
mother in the mother tongue. They don't have
Yeah.
it. So
Mm.
um I think it's just, really trying to understand their culture and who they are.
Yeah.
Um, we can be very creative though, just think about different ideas and ways that you can be innovative
Mm.
from what we've been taught on this side. But
Yeah.
a lot of times you kind of have to just let your guards down and
Mm.
understand what they need help with. But a lot of people ask me, oh, are you gonna move there? Are you
Yeah.
going to like live there forever? Like I get
Yeah.
all these questions all the time. But for me, I understand my power on this
Yeah.
side of the world,
Mm.
and I understand what I need to do on that side of the world. So in
Yeah.
order for me to move the needle on that side, I need to be on this side, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's just my thought process. I have a lot of power on this side, and
Yeah.
my weight just of being America carries heavy on that
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
So I understand both places and kind of where I'm situated right now.
Yes. Yes.
And so that's why I still stay in the States, but I do go over quite often. But I tell
Okay.
people just kind of let your guard down. I do take
Mm.
groups over every now and then, not all the time.
I was going to actually, I also noticed that in my conversation with you previously,
Mhm.
it's become like a family affair too. So almost
Yeah.
everyone in your family, you want to share a little bit?
Yeah, they go. We do take trips. Well, I started with just my mom, dad, sister, brother, just my immediate family. And then it started, then they, your cousins and your aunties and
Yeah.
so and then they tell their friends. So I take people over, but not often. We go every other year. And it's getting tougher because of the work that I do. So a lot of times I have different private organizations that want to take their group. I have school districts that want to take their district leaders.
Yeah.
So it's getting tougher for me to take just like everyday, individuals. And the work that I do, it has to be kind of incorporated in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So, but I do take groups over, and it's really a great experience. I think my father, he's been over about 4 times,
Wow.
and
Wow.
he told me, the best thing about you going, the best that what makes your trip so great is because I have the local people in my group. So when you come, right, like when we go over, people are gonna meet us at the airport. They're gonna go out to eat with us. They're gonna walk in the mall with us. They're gonna go to
Nice.
yeah. I have my friends. They come
Oh,
and they talk, and everybody on the trip, they don't have to ask me all the questions because I don't
yeah.
know what the answers, right? So
Mm.
they're asking about marriage, dowry, uh,
Mm.
you know,
Wow.
being the cultural traditions and security, safety, all these questions that they have when they're like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so I don't have to answer. So I have a lot of people that will literally come with us that on the trip. So that's what makes it, I think, special because they get to talk to like
Other
a
people.
person there and they
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
listen. And we have young people,
Mm.
and also my father is 75 years old, and
Oh, bless his heart.
yeah, he goes. We have a lady called Techno Granny. You can Google her, Techno Granny. She's
Wow.
retired school teacher. She's taught for 35 years and was a principal.
Okay.
And now she teaches coding. And
Wow.
I linked her up with my mom and dad so her and her husband can go, they can go and have a day. They love it.
Wow. Well done. Well done. Kudos to your family. Literally.
Yeah.
Kudos. So the embassy passport visa, how difficult is it, especially for an American who wants to be part of your journey, part of SheSTEAM, want to contribute? You want to touch on that a little bit because that's important, right?
Yes, yes, definitely. I mean, you want to make sure your passport has about 6 months on it,
Okay.
period. In terms of visa, it depends on where we go. So, South Africa does not need a visa. You get a visa on site. I should say that you get a visa on site, so you don't have to do it ahead of time. Kenya, now, this is what I heard. This was an announcement that United States citizens
Mhm.
don't necessarily need a visa anymore.
Oh, that's good news.
That's what they said. But when I went to Kenya, you had to do it online, and I
Mhm.
had to call a couple of people to push it through. But I will say for Kenya, I'm making very good headway. I'll probably meet with the embassy in the next 6 months, so I'll probably have some good relationships. So I'm not too concerned about Kenya.
Okay.
Ghana could be a tough cookie.
Okay.
Ghana could be a tough cookie. It's a
Mhm.
tough cookie. Um, the process when I went, you would have to mail your passport. You have to mail everything to the embassy in DC. You have to FedEx it overnight, which is, pricey. And then you have to send a return envelope coming back. Now, I don't
Okay.
know the new process, but I heard it hasn't gotten much better. And
Mhm.
the fees are more, it's a little bit more expensive. However, for like I say, I work at a university. I do work at Georgia State University. So it's not as challenging for me to kind of navigate the visa process because we typically have different study abroad programs, and all I have to do is send an email if the country I'm going to, somebody has been, it's a, just that connection.
You're right.
So
Right.
for me, that's how I was able to travel as well because I went through the university. So I didn't have, like the regular traditional route. But now since I've graduated in 2017, I have contacts. So for certain countries, I can the access is easy. Zambia, you can get it on site. You pay on site when you get there. Ethiopia as well, you pay on site. Egypt as well, you pay on site. So just depends on where you go.
Thank you so much for that. So we're coming to the end of the podcast and conversation. Let's one question, and then I'll ask you to give us your closing remarks. It has to do with legacy and impact. For me, I believe what you're doing is epic, it's phenomenal, it's transcending. That is something that I try to encourage. Uh, since I've been here in the West, try to encourage connection between all Africans in diaspora. Uh, so we're all the children of Mother Africa, and we have a lot of power when we're able to connect, and knowing that, you know, we even if we can't do it here in the West, we can do a lot, right in Africa. Taking your knowledge, your talent, it can go a long way. Making that connection, forming that connection can go a long way. And that is what, uh, you know, the children of Mother Africa need to do, that connection. So the fact that you're doing that, and I think that's why I said you're a trendsetter, because maybe there are people that are doing what you're doing, but I don't know in my sphere. I don't know any, and I'm not looking no pun intended. Literally, this is what I mean by this. Uh, as a woman doing this, that that is heroic to me. So the fact that you're doing this and you're not afraid. I know some people will say, "What's to be afraid of?" Right? So, but I'm steeped in the culture, and I know sometimes it can be, the fear and the challenge of the cultural differences can be an issue. But you took it on, right? You learn the culture, you observe the culture in order to know how to navigate through it. So, and that's why I said you're a trendsetter, you're a hero doing what you're doing. Now, in regards to legacy and impact, looking back at your journey so far, what do you hope will be the lasting impact of your work in Africa, especially in light of the rich cultural and historical context you have experienced?
Mm. I will say, well, thank you so much for all of that. Um, like I say, when I set out to do this work, I wasn't I wasn't thinking about it like that. It was just I wanted to give back. I knew that I had a degree in an area where there wasn't many girls or women who looked like me. So I wanted to give back and push girls to continue their education and possibly go into these fields. So I think for me, the impact would be I would love to see more Black women on the continent in STEAM. I would love to see more Black women on the continent in entrepreneurship,
Yes,
STEAM-driven entrepreneurship.
yes.
That's doing this work, especially this specific event that we are having. I've learned a lot about, like you said, I'm still navigating culture. This is our first time doing an international event without the support of the university, right?
Mm,
And I'm learning that process because I'm still learning the culture. I still get tapped on the hand sometimes,
mm,
from people, in the country or people I'm communicating with. And uh, it's just, I'm learning, but I keep pushing through.
yeah.
But I hope that in terms of the legacy, I hope that more girls and women will pursue the field. Um, I'm learning that just as excited as they are to get in, I want them to sustain and stay in. That's I want them to stay because it's easy to get excited and start something new, but I want them to continue and stay, right? That's just like I went to South Africa in 2011. It could have been my last trip.
Mm,
But starting in 2014 or 13, that's when I started going to Ghana.
mm.
I've been going to Ghana from 13 all the way up until COVID, and I'm itching to get back over. I couldn't get back fast enough. So
Mm,
this trip next week, I leave out. I'm so excited because I haven't seen my people since COVID,
mm,
and it's just like, oh gosh, was just excited about that because, like I said, I never, I wanted to. It sustained me. I kept going, and honestly, the people in the rural in northern Ghana, when I did my work, at times where I wanted to quit, I
mm.
wanted to give up. I just didn't want to do the work anymore. The doctorate can be a very isolated process.
Yeah,
It can be lonely. It's a lot. It's heavy on you,
yeah,
especially when you're breaking through and doing something different, right?
yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
oh gosh. So I wanted to give up, but I thought about those women who
Mm,
were looking forward to me every year coming,
mm.
seeing them, moving the needle. Can you talk to my husband? Can you
Yeah,
talk to the chief? You
yeah.
know, so I think that's what pushed me through. So that sustained me. So now I'm like forever grateful for forever. I'm like owe them something and just the continent itself. So that's what keeps me going. So I
Mm,
hope that these girls will have something and just a little light bulb to say, oh, this person came to see me and I'm gonna push through, even if when they want to give up, because it will be tough. There will be times you'll go up against the wall. You might not have all the support that you need, but you still have to push through. So that was just my journey. And like I said, I didn't set out to do what I'm doing now. And you're not the only one. I've had corporations, even the past couple of days, call me to say, I haven't seen this. How did you even get this far? How are you
Yeah,
doing it? Even
yeah,
one in South Africa, they're like, we're
yeah,
here and we
yeah.
didn't even think to do what
To
you're
do
doing.
this. Absolutely. To be honest with you, especially now that I is on Africa, right? Now there is more interest now in Africa. Um, and the fact that you're doing, I'm not surprised that corporations are reaching to you, trying to learn from you. So, and they should. Just want to say, great thing, trendsetter, what you're doing. I'm coming right behind you. I'm coming right behind you. Don't worry. So as we close this inspiring station, Dr. Bass-Flimmons, I did like to ask you one final question that could resonate with many of our listeners. Reflecting on your journey with STEAM, the impact you have made, the challenges you have overcome. And I know one of those challenges is how to navigate, the dynamics of men. What messages will you like to leave with our audience, especially young girls and women in the rural Africa who dream of pursuing career in STEAM field, but may face significant barriers? What
Mm.
encouragement and wisdom can you share to inspire them to reach their dream despite the odds?
Oh goodness, it's a loaded question.
I know, I'm
Um,
sorry.
I will say, you have to, it's definitely challenging. These are male dominated fields, so you are going to, you know, go up against the grain a lot. I will say, number one, try to find your support. Try
Mm,
to find a mentor.
mm,
A mentor, I would say, number one, someone who has gone down the path that you want to go down. Even if, let's just say, for example, you are interested in electrical engineering, but this person might be in civil engineering, right? Or architectural engineering. So just find an engineer, right? Just find someone that has done what you inspire to do, even if you don't have access to the person, follow them on social media. You can at
mm,
least do that. Follow them on look through TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, follow those people. Start engaging with them. And believe it or not, you never know, you might spark a relationship. Or if there are groups out there you can get involved with. We plan to kick off a mentoring um, area in the work that we're doing. So we plan to kick that off. So stay connected with me. I'm known on Instagram as Academic Empress. So that's
mm.
where I'm at. That's the name,
Nice.
Academic Empress. So I would say find a mentor if you can, or if you can't find one, just ask questions to people who are in those higher roles. Number two, find a community if you can, a community of like whatever you want to be in. So I'm in tech. I had to find my tech people, my tech Black people. Now I
Yes.
couldn't be real exclusive to say tech
Mm,
Black female, but when I was doing my work, I had my colleagues were from the continent. One
mm,
was from Botswana, one was from Nigeria, and it was me. And we stuck together like glue in everything we did. So we supported each other. We saw each other every year going to conference and we supported each other. So that really was helpful for all of us to finish and cross over. And then I would say the third is just don't be scared. Trust me, the worst they can say is no. I've been told no a lot. believe it or not. So you just want to keep asking, ask a different person, ask in a different way. But to be persistent, I'm a very persistent person. So, and that's just some of the stripes on my back that came from that. But it's definitely challenging to navigate this role. If you want to do international work, you have to be willing. I just started this conversation with I had a 6 a.m. this morning. Sometimes I have to get up at 4 a.m. right to do this type of work. So it's definitely has to be in your heart. You have to have a passion for it, but you can do it, and just find someone to support you. I didn't have a mentor. People at my university, they told me, hey, we'll support you to go to West Africa to do work because we don't have anyone going to West Africa at the time when I was going. You want to go to that place, So I was getting a lot of kickback. And I went by myself solo. I literally found the organization online, contacted them. I had a good connect at the embassy who checked them out, right, to make sure they were a legit organization. And that was really helpful for me. And I literally showed up and they came to the airport and picked me up, and the rest was history. But I didn't know a soul in Ghana. So I wasn't scared to go as well. And it was just, that just went with it. So you can't be scared. And sometimes you have to just, keep at it. So that would be my advice.
Thank you so much, Dr. Flimmons. That was inspiring. Thank you so much for coming on STEAMSparks Think STEAM Career podcast. It's an honor to really have you. I just say again, you're a trendsetter, you're a hero, and thank you for all that you do. Thank you. So, folks, as you've seen, please go ahead, support SheSTEAM. They're doing phenomenal work in Africa and globally. This is indeed a real deal. Please do support this group. This is a good group. Also, would like to encourage you to please subscribe to my YouTube channel and support me too. If you like this type of podcast, this type of programming that podcasting that I'm doing, the program that I'm bringing to you, please do support me. My focus is in the BIPOC community, how to uplift our community. My focus is to talk to champions in STEM careers and education who are speaking loudly as Dr. Fleming and doing the wonderful work as Dr. Fleming so that we can inspire all of our young girls and boys, of course, to pursue STEAM careers, STEAM degrees and education. Our community cannot afford not to be part of the innovation that is taking place. But the most important thing is, just like Dr. Flemons, when we work together as a community, whether in the United States, I'm focusing on those areas that are underrepresented. And girls, of course, we all know that girls are behind 8 ball. Anything that we can do to uplift the girls, especially in Africa, that goes a long way. Please support Dr. Fleming, the SheSTEAM, support my program, STEAMSparks, Think STEAM Career. Subscribe to my channel. Please subscribe to my channel. I don't really advertise. And buy my book. Buy my book. Oh my God, I don't talk about my book. I've written 2 books. One is How the Turtle Got His Cracked Shell. Have you ever wondered how the turtle got his cracked shell? Buy my book. And then the other one, the second one, the recent one that I wrote is Adana's Magical Pearls. So buy those books. Again, as I said, 10% of whatever that I do is going to support, my STEAM initiative. and I'm liking what SheSTEAM is doing. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Flemons, for everything.
You're
Talk to you soon.
welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.